How do you grow peaches and other stone fruit from seed? Today I'm going to show you. I have been saving up some fruit stones and I am going to grow some trees from them. So I'm going to show you exactly what I'm going to do to be able to grow our own trees for free. Now, I don't know about you, but we are trying to grow as much food as we can here for as little money as possible. And when a friend offered me some free peaches, I jumped at the opportunity. These peaches are ones that will grow locally. Were growing in somebody's backyard. Here they're known as black boy peaches, which obviously the name's not so popular these days, so they're also known as blood peaches. The upside to them is they are a freestone, so they're really easy to pull the flesh off the stone. The stones come away really, really clean, and they're really good for canning. They're nice to eat fresh as well, though. These are a particular variety that I know grow really well here. We actually do have a few trees of them up in the food forest, but free fruit trees never go astray. So I am going to attempt to grow some of these from stone. Over here you can see these are some plum trees that I did last year, and these ones here are some green gages that I did last year as well. These were ones that we actually bought the fruit of at the store, so that we know that they're nice varieties that the kids enjoy eating. I did exactly what I'm going to show you with the peach stones. I did the exact same thing with the plum stones last year. And I also did it with some apricots and some nectarines, and so all of those stone fruit, they all work in exactly the same way, and this technique will work perfectly for all of those. So the very first thing we did, obviously, was we took the flesh off the stones, and I have canned those, which I have got a video about canning peaches, so I'll link to that up the top. And then these, because they're a freestone, they don't have very much flesh left on them. But even if you do have a normal eating peach that does have flesh left on it, either way, what you want to do is spread them out on some newspaper and leave them to dry. And if they go a little bit moldy, that's okay, but the idea is to try and dry them as best you can. And this allows the flesh to kind of frizzle up and disappear. So I just left these for a couple of days, and then once they're nice and dry, you can actually store these right until whenever you're ready to plant them. They will last for a really long time, just like this. You'll find some instructions say to use a nutcracker to open these up to get out the little kernel. Now this is the actual seed itself. This is the bit that will germinate and grow. However, nature is wonderful, and these will naturally just crack. There's a process that a lot of these seeds go through called stratification, and that is when fruit obviously is usually made in late summer or early autumn, and the fruit falls to the ground, and then it's naturally covered by the leaf litter that then falls off the tree, and that buries the fruit, and the fruit over the course of the winter will slowly break down this outer shell and crack it enough, especially with the frosts, will crack it enough to let this little doofer in the middle there to actually germinate. So what you need if you are going to be planting these in the springtime is to replicate that cold weather. So the best way to do that is you can get a few of these and you can wrap them in a damp paper towel and place them in a Ziploc bag and put them in your fridge. And you'll find after a month or so like that, a lot of them will start to crack and start to germinate. If you want to be sure that they're germinating a lot faster, what you can do is crack them with a nutcracker and just get this little seed out the middle. And do the same thing, wrap it in some damp tissue paper or a handy towel, whatever, and put it in your fridge, and it is actually the cold weather that will start it germinating. So I, on the other hand, we are just heading into our winter, and so I have kept these, and I'm going to plant these just how they are, and then I'm going to sit them outside and just let nature and weather take its course. The only thing I'm going to protect them from is the mice, because the mice and the rats will dig them up, because they quite like to eat these little kernels out the middle. Not every seed will germinate. That's always the case. Not every seed germinates. But we have got quite a few here, and we're going to plant them all, and probably in springtime a bunch of them will germinate. And it doesn't matter if not all of them do. And I have just dug up the nectarines that I did this to last year, and none of those germinated, but there's actually still quite a few seeds like this that are still doing perfectly well in the soil. So I'm going to leave them for another winter, and I presume that they will come away. So just because they haven't germinated within the first couple months doesn't mean that they won't. It just means that they've got an extra tough shell and they might just take a little longer. Nature is not in a hurry to replicate itself. So the reason that these come with such a big thick shell is so that they can last longer and they can survive just like this for quite some time. So I'm going to show you exactly what I'm going to do to put these in a pot. I am putting them all in together in a pot. I'm not putting one in each individual pot. That's because one, not all of them will germinate, which is fine. And two, it only gives me one pot to be looking after and one pot to keep an eye on. So I have chosen quite a large pot, and it means that I can put a big piece of like welded wire over the top to keep the mice and things out. The other upside to a large pot is it does tend to retain its moisture a lot better, so you'll get a lot more even, constant moisture in there, which of course is better for the plant itself. So here we have, this is a decent sized pot, and I haven't actually filled it all the way to the top with potting mix. Sorry, the lighting's not the greatest in here. There is potting mix in there. The reason I haven't filled it to the top is purely because that was the end of the bag that I have. So I'm just going to make a little bit of a hole in here, and then I'm just going to put all of these seeds in, and I'm going to bury them about 2 or 3 inches deep. And yes, I'm using a spoon because I don't want to go back outside and tell the kids what I'm doing, because then they'll want attention. So I'm just making sure that every single one of these kernels is completely surrounded by dirt rather than being rubbed up against each other, and I'm just chucking them all in there. I do actually have another bag of potting mix outside, so I will add an extra couple of inches into the top of that pot as well, and then I will just be covering it with a little bit of welded wire that I have lying around, some what else is it called? A hardware cloth, I think people know it as. That's just the stuff we built our rabbit houses out of, and it has tiny little 1/2 inch or 1 centimetre squares that the mice can't get into. Now don't forget to label your seeds and your pots really, really well, because you're not going to remember this time next year what it was you put in the pot. You're not going to remember which plum went in which pot or which nectarine went where, so make sure that you're labeling them really well as you go. So what you're going to need to do, is pull each of them out. Once they're quite small, you want to transplant them while they're quite little into their own pot. This will give them the space that they need and the nutrients that they need to get on and grow nice big strong trees. And then these are just going to go straight back outside and hang out for the following winter. I hope you found this video useful. If you have, hit the like button and consider subscribing to our channel. We bring you videos twice a week on growing and preserving your own food and other homesteading bits and pieces. We'll see you in the next one.